I've said it before on this channel, but Virtua Fighter is unique in its place in the fighting game community. It has always existed alongside the mainstream fighting genre, included in its events and respected by the community at large, but with a culture all its own that can and often does exist on a proverbial island most of the time. It, perhaps more than any other fighting franchise, is intrinsically tied to the Japanese arcade scene, which permeates the atmosphere of every tournament, even ones that don't necessarily take place in Japanese arcades, to a degree that's hard to put into words. Witness one, and there's no doubt left in your mind that the glory days are alive and well. Of course, that symbiotic connection to the Japanese arcade scene is clearly troubling to Sega themselves, as evidenced by closures of some of their most famous arcades in the country, as well as their rebranding of the latest game in the series, Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, as Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown in most of the world, or perhaps much more tellingly, Virtua Fighter eSports in Japan. It's evident that Sega is trying to future-proof the IP for an age where it won't have that culture to lean on as heavily. Far more interesting than this rebranded Virtua Fighter 5 as an attempt to feel out the series' place in today's fighting genre, though, is the simple fact that it is the main game featured at the first post-pandemic Evo Japan. The thing about featured games at Evo is that there's almost always an accompanying presentation either immediately before or after the top 8, revealing news about upcoming content for the game in question, if not outright upgraded editions or sequels. This is so reliable, and Virtua Fighter eSports is so singularly featured, that it becomes difficult to try and make the case that Virtua Fighter 6 isn't going to be unveiled on stage in Japan at the beginning of April. There's a part of me that feels like I could just end the video right here, take a victory lap, celebrate the apparent inevitability of a new Virtua Fighter with those of you who are here that feel the same way, and call it a night. However, there's a lot complicating the prospect of a theoretical Virtua Fighter 6 that can't be ignored, and leaves RGG Studio treading dangerous ground if this is earmarked by Sega to be a major, high-risk, high-reward type of AAA project. Now, I for one hope that isn't the case, but that's part of the point. You see, there's a large section of the Virtua Fighter fanbase, myself absolutely included, that were drawn in by the very elements of the game that much of the mainstream finds to be dull or unapproachable, and would rather spend the rest of time playing Ultimate Showdown than a potentially radically different Virtua Fighter 6. If Sega moves more toward the Namco-powered mainstream of 3D fighting games, they do so at the risk of losing the audience they've amassed up to this point, with no guarantee of building a new one. The Tekken and Soul Calibur crowd may very well just be completely content playing Tekken and Soul Calibur after all. Thus, Virtua Fighter's safest path forward to potential growth would be to do the same thing it always does, just bigger and with a better eye for presentation, the latter of which doesn't seem to be a problem based on RGG Studio's work on Ultimate Showdown. The character roster aspect should be easy, just add 8 to 10 characters rather than the usual 2. Maybe 8 for VF6 and 2 more for the inevitable upgraded edition. There's not much that really has to be done there otherwise. Characters in Virtua Fighter aren't really characters in the fully realized sense. They're more like stand-ins for various fighting styles from around the world, so pick some adaptable fighting styles that haven't been included yet and build from there. While an outright character creator might be a little too much for the existing Virtua Fighter community to accept, Virtua Fighter is the franchise that introduced character design customization to fighting games, so going in big on that is an absolute must. Connected to that, one process from Virtua Fighter 4 that absolutely needs to be massaged on the console side is player data. What was once a simple matter of taking your memory card over to a friend's house or a cyber cafe has been reserved for online play or profiles existing on the same console in the VF5 era. And if there's a convenient way to be found to make both our customized characters and our win-loss records portable on consoles, that is absolutely something Sega should pursue. For my part, I'm cautiously optimistic. It's clear to me that Virtua Fighter is in the hands of people who value and understand it, and as long as there's no executive meddling in an attempt to turn it into something it's not, we're more than likely within 2 months of something truly special. That's all for now. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you like this video. Click the notification bell to know right away when the next video goes up. I'm Patrick Mifflin, sounding off.